Dear learners, welcome to the course Disaster Management Strategies. As you know, Module 17, entitled Causes, Effects and Mitigation Measures of Flood, Earthquake and Landslide, consists of three units. The first unit of Module 17 is Unit 34, Flood and Disaster Risk Reductions. Today, we will explore this unit together. I am Utpal Lekha, your course coordinator from Krishnakanta Hendrik State Open University. I am excited to have you with me on this journey. Let's get started. In the previous model, we have studied the foundational aspects of disaster risk reductions, including hazard identifications, vulnerability assessment, structural and non-structural mitigations, early warning system, IEC, role of educational institutions, and emerging technologies, including ICT and AI. Module 70 now shifts focus to three major geophysical disasters that cause widespread devastation in India: flood, earthquake, and landslide. Unit 34 deals exclusively with flood, one of the most frequent and damaging natural hazard in the country, especially in the Brahmaputra and Ganga basins, eastern and western coast, and many urban centers. In this unit, you will cover definition and types of flood, major causes of flooding in India, devastating effects of flood on human life, economy, environment, and society, practical and evidence-based mitigation measures, including structural and non-structural, real-world examples and lessons from flood-prone regions. By the end of this unit, you will understand why floods are called a man-made disasters with natural causes in many Indian contexts, and how a combination of scientific planning, community participations, and sustainable land use practices can significantly reduce flood risks and losses. Now we will start with definition and types of flood. A flood is the inundation, that is the temporary covering of normally dry land by water for several days or longer. In simple terms, it occurs when a river, stream, lake, or coastal area receives more water than it can hold or drain away, causing overflow onto surrounding land. Flood is a natural phenomenon in riverine and coastal systems, but in many cases, it becomes a disaster due to human actions that increase vulnerability or amplify the hazard. The Disaster Management Act 2025 of India defined flood as a calamity caused by the overflowing of rivers or by heavy rainfall leading to inundations of low-lying areas. Types of flood. Floods are classified based on their cause, speed of onset, durations, and geographical locations. The main types relevant to India include riverine or fluvial flood. It is the most common type of flood in India. It occurs when rivers overflow their banks due to excessive rainfall, snowmelt, or upstream water release. As for example, annual flooding of the Brahmaputra in Assam, Ganga and its tributary in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, Godavari in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and Kosi in Bihar. These can be slow onset, that is lasting days or weeks, or flash in steep catchments, flash flood. This is sudden and intense flooding that develops within minutes to a few hours, often with little or no warning. Main causes include cloudburst, extremely heavy localized rainfall, dam or embankment breaches, or glacial lake outburst flood, that is GLOBS. As for example, the 2013 Uttarakhand Kedarnath disaster, the 2021 Samoli glacial lake outburst, and frequent flash floods in Himachal Pradesh and the Western Ghats. Urban flood. This refers to flooding in cities and towns caused by intense rainfall, overwhelming, inadequate, or closed drainage system, often worsened by rapid urbanizations. The main causes include concentration of natural soil surface, that is reducing water infiltration, encroachment on lakes, wetlands, ponds and natural drains, or locally called nalas, poor or insufficient storm water drainage infrastructure, unplanned and haphazard construction. As for example, Mumbai, major flood in 2005, 2017, 2019 and 2023, and Chennai 2015 mega flood, Hyderabad major flood 2020, Guwahati incurrent annual flooding, Bengaluru major flood in 2022. This type of flood is increasingly common in Indian cities due to unplanned growth, loss of natural water bodies, and inadequate urban planning. Coastal storm surge flood. This refers to flooding of low-lying coastal areas when strong cyclonic winds and low atmospheric pressure push seawater inland. Storm surges, often combined with heavy rainfall from the cyclone itself. As for example, Orissa and Andhra Pradesh coast during major cyclones Fani 2019, Years 2021, Gulab 2021, and parts of West Bengal, especially the Sundarban region. Pluvial or surface water flood. This refers to the flooding caused by rainwater accumulation in low-lying or poorly drained areas, independent of river overflow. Main causes include intense short-duration rainfall that exceeds the drainage capacity of the area, especially in urban and semi-urban settings where natural infiltration is reduced. As for example, this type of flood is common in low-lying parts of Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, and many Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities during monsoon cloudburst or heavy downpours. In simple words, when heavy rain falls too quickly and the drains or soil cannot handle it, water collects on the ground and floods street, homes and low areas even when no river is involved. Understanding these types is crucial because it requires different early warning methods, mitigation strategies, and response approaches. In India, riverine and urban flood are the most frequent and damaging, while flash and coastal floods cause sudden high mortality events. Effective flood risk reduction demands tailored strategies for each type. Now we will discuss causes of flood in India. Floods in India are caused by a combination of natural processes and human activities. While heavy rainfall and river outflow are the primary natural triggers, human intervention often worsen the frequency, intensity, and impact of flooding. Let us first discuss the natural causes. Heavy and continuous rainfall. Intense and prolonged monsoon rainfall is the single most common cause of flooding in India. Excessive rain in upper catchments leads to rapid accumulation of water, exceeding the river's natural carrying capacity and causing overflow into surrounding plains. This is especially severe in the Brahmaputra basin, where heavy rainfall in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam frequently results in large-scale flooding across Assam and neighboring states. Cloudburst and extreme rainfall events. Sudden, very heavy localized rainfall, that is cloudburst, in hilly or mountains regions causes flash floods within minutes to hours. These events are common in the Western Ghats, Himalayas, and Northeast India, leading to devastating flash floods. For example, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Snowmelt and glacial lake outburst flood, that is GLOF. Rapid melting of Himalayan glaciers or sudden bursting of glacial lakes releases massive volumes of water downstream. Glacial lake outbursts flood pose a growing threat in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh due to climate change. For example, in 2021, Samoli disaster in Uttarakhand. Cyclonic rainfall and storm surges. Tropical cyclones brings extremely heavy rainfall and strong winds that push seawater inland, that is storm surge, flooding coastal low-lying areas. This is a major cause of flooding along the Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal coast during the cyclone season. River morphology. Many Indian rivers, especially the Brahmaputra, are broad, meandering and highly dynamic. Their shifting channels, heavy sedimentations and reduced flow velocity cause water to overflow banks and inundate adjacent areas. Now we will discuss human-induced causes. Deforestation in upper catchments. Large-scale deforestation in the Himalayan and northeast catchments reduces the soil's ability to absorb rainwater, that is infiltrations. This increased surface runoff accelerates soil erosion and raises flood peaks downstream. Encroachment on floodplains and riverbeds. Illegal construction, sand mining and urban expansion on natural floodplains and riverbeds, narrow channels obstruct natural flow and increase flood risk. This is widespread along the Ganga, Brahmaputra and other major rivers. Poor urban drainage and concretizations. Rapid urbanization seals natural soil surfaces with concrete and asphalts, reducing water infiltrations and overwhelming existing drainage systems. Encroachment on urban lakes, wetlands and natural drainage worsens the problem. This is the main cause of recurrent urban flooding in cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Guwahati and Bangalore. Embankment and dam failures. Poorly maintained or poorly designed embankments often breach during high flows, releasing large volumes of water suddenly. For example, Kosi River breached in 2008. Sudden reservoirs releases from dams can also cause downstream flooding. Unscientific land use practices. Practices such as shifting cultivations, locally known as zoom, quarrying, unplanned road construction in hills and slope destabilizations increase surface runoff and landslide risk, indirectly contributing to flash floods and river sedimentations. While heavy rainfall and natural river behavior are unavoidable, the most severe flood disasters in India are amplified by human actions such as deforestation, unplanned urbanizations, encroachment, and poor infrastructure maintenance. Effective flood risk reductions therefore requires addressing both natural triggers and human-induced factors through sustainable land use, ecosystem restorations, and community preparedness. Now we are in a position to discuss the effects of flood. Floods in India cause widespread, multi-dimensional impact that affect human lives, livelihoods, infrastructure, the economy, the environment, and society at large. These effects can be immediate, during and right after the flood, or long-term, often lasting for years or even generations in chronically affected regions. Effects of flood are discussed below. First, we discuss human and social effects. Loss of life and injury. Flood frequently cause deaths and serious injuries through drowning, electrocution from fallen power lines, snake bites as snakes seek higher ground, and accidents during evacuations or rescue. Vulnerable groups such as children, elderly, pregnant women, and persons with disabilities faced the highest risk. Mass displacement. Millions of people are displaced every year, forced to leave their homes and live in temporary relief camps or with relatives. Displacement can be short term, days to weeks, or long term, such as permanent mitigations, disrupting family structures, social networks, and community life. Psychological trauma and mental health issues. Survivors often experience severe stress, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and grief due to loss of loved ones, homes, or livelihoods. Children and women are particularly affected with limited access to mental health support in many flood-prone areas. Disruption of educations. Schools remain closed for weeks or months, for example, 3 to 4 months annually in parts of Assam and Bihar, leading to significant learning loss, increased dropout rates, especially among girls, and long-term educational disadvantage, increased vulnerability and gender-based violence. Overcrowded relief camps and disrupted social structure heightens the risk of gender-based violence, child trafficking, early marriage, and exploitation of women, children, elderly, and disabled persons. Now we'll discuss the economic effects. First, destruction of agriculture and livelihoods. Prolonged submersion destroys standing crops such as paddy, jute, vegetable, pulses, leading to total or partial loss of harvest, food security, and sharp rise in food prices. Livelihoods, fisheries such as paddy cum fish culture, and agricultural assets such as tools, pumps are also lost. Damage to housing and personal assets. Mud houses, thatched roofs, and kacha dwellings collapse or become uninhabitable. Household goods, vehicles, and personal belongings are swept away or damaged beyond repair. Infrastructure damage. Roads, bridges, railways, power lines, telecommunication towers, and drinking water supply systems suffer extensive damage, disrupting connectivity and essential services for weeks or months. Disruption of trade, commerce, and employment. Market close, transportation halls, and industries, especially small scale and informal, stop functioning. Daily wage workers, small traders, and self-employed persons lose income for extended periods. High government expenditures. Relief operations, temporary shelters, medical camps, food distributions, reconstructions, and compensation package impose a heavy financial burden on state and central governments. Now we discuss the health and environmental effects. Outbreaks of waterborne and vector-borne diseases. Contaminated floodwater spread cholera, diarrhea, typhoid, hepatitis, etc. Stagnant pools breed mosquitoes, leading to malaria, dengue, and chikungunya outbreaks. Soil erosion and land degradations. First moving floodwater erodes fertile topsoil, deposits sand and silt on agricultural land, and reduces soil productivity for years. Water contaminations. Flood pollute surface water such as rivers, ponds, and groundwater with sewage, industrial waste, pesticides, and dead animals, making drinking water unsafe. Destruction of ecosystem. Wetlands, mangroves, and natural flood buffers are damaged or destroyed, reducing their ability to absorb future floodwater and protect coastal or riverine areas. Now we discuss long-term effects. First, increased poverty and indebtedness. Repeated crop loss, asset destructions, and income disruptions push families deeper into poverty. Many borrow at high interest rates for recovery, leading to long-term debt traps. Loss of cultural heritage and community cohesion. Floods damage temples, historical sites, community spaces, and cultural artifacts. Repeated displacement weakens social bonds, traditional practices, and community resilience. Delayed development. Chronically flood-affected regions, for example, parts of Assam, Bihar, eastern Uttar Pradesh, face stalled infrastructure projects, reduced investment, lower human development indicators, and persistent backwardness. Flood are not only a natural event but often a man-made disaster due to poor planning, environmental degradations, and inadequate preparedness. The combined human, social, economic, health, environmental, and long-term effects make flood one of India's most devastating and recurring hazards, demanding integrated, sustainable, and community-focused mitigation strategies. Now, we discuss mitigation measures for flood risk reductions. Flood mitigation in India integrates structural measures, non-structural measures, and integrated and community-based approaches. The primary goal is to reduce flood risk, minimize human and economic losses, and promote sustainable coexistence with rivers and floodplains rather than constant confrontation. Let us first discuss the non-structural or long-term measures. First, afforestation and watershed management. Reforestation and restoration of vegetations cover in upper catchments increases soil infiltration capacity, reduce surface runoff, control soil erosions, and moderate peak flood flows. Community-led watershed management programs, often implemented under schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, presently known as Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin, construct check dams, gully plugs, and vegetative barriers to slow water movement and enhance groundwater research. Flood forecasting and early warning system. The India Meteorological Department, that is IMD, Central Water Commission, that is CWC, and state agencies operate flood forecasting centers that collect real-time data on rainfall, river levels, reservoir storage, and satellite imagery to issue timely warnings. Alerts are disseminated through multiple channels including SMS, WhatsApp groups, sirens, community radio, and local loudspeakers. Community-based early warning systems ensure last mile dissemination by trained local volunteers. Zoning and land use regulations. Flood-prone areas are mapped and classified into high, medium, and low risk zones based on historical flood data, elevation, and probability of inundations. Strict land use regulations prohibit or restrict constructions in active floodplains. No objection certificates are required for building in vulnerable zones, and development plans prioritize relocation of settlements from high risk areas. Floodplains restorations and regulation. Illegal encroachment on natural floodplains, riverbeds, and wetlands are removed. Restoration of natural drainage channels, lakes, ponds, and wetlands is promoted to increase water shortage capacity and reduce flood peaks. Encroachment of river zoning and floodplain management rules help maintain the natural flood absorbing functions of these ecosystems. Now, we discuss the structural, that is the short and medium term measures. Storage, reservoirs and dams. Large dams and reservoirs in river catchments store excess monsoon runoff for controlled release, reducing downstream flood peaks. These structures also support irrigations, drinking water supply, and hydropower generation. However, poor operations or sudden release can cause flash flooding downstream. Embankments, dikes, and flood walls. Earthen levees, concrete flood walls, and dikes confine floodwater within rivers channels, protecting adjacent land. They are widely used along the Brahmaputra, Ganga, and their tributaries. However, embankments frequently fail due to overtopping, poor maintenance, piping, or breaches, sometimes causing more severe flooding than if no embankment existed. River channel improvements. Strengthening of surf meanders, removal of obstructions such as sandbars, vegetations, and raising of riverbeds, increase channels capacity and flow velocity, reducing the likelihood of overflow. These measures are applied selectively to improve drainage in critical stretches. Diversion channels and spillways. Engineered diversion channels, spillways, and floodways redirect excess water to redesignated low-lying or uninhabited areas like flood detention basins to protect densely populated or economically important zones. Stone spurs, groins, and revetments. Permeable stone spurs, groins, and bank revetments are constructed along vulnerable river banks to deflect flow away from settlements, protect towns and cities from erosions, and stabilize embankments during high flows. Now, let us discuss the integrated and community-based approaches. Ecosystem-based mitigations. Restorations and protections of natural flood buffers such as mangroves, wetlands, floodplains, and riverian vegetations provide cost-effective sustainable protections by absorbing and slowing floodwater. Mangroves restorations along the Orissa and West Bengal coast has proven effective in reducing storm surge impact. Community preparedness and participations. Local communities are trained in early warning interpretations, evacuations procedures, first aid, and safe shelter management through schemes like Apada Mitra, village level disaster management committees, and community based early warning systems ensure last mile dissemination and response. Build back better. Post-flood reconstruction of houses, schools, roads, bridges, and public buildings incorporates flood resilience designs such as elevated pins, flood resistance material, proper drainage, and location outside high risk zones to reduce future vulnerability. The most effective flood risk reductions in India combine structural protections where necessary, non-structural measures, for example, land use planning, forecasting, ecosystem restorations, and strong community participations. Purely engineering-based approaches, for example, endless embankment constructions, have often failed due to maintenance issue and unintended consequences. Sustainable flood management requires shifting from flood control to flood risk reductions, respecting rivers, natural behaviors, restoring ecosystem, regulating development, and empowering communities to live with flood safely. Dear learners, we begin by defining flood as inundations caused when water exceeds the carrying capacity of rivers, drainage systems, or coastal areas. We examined the major causes such as heavy rainfall, cloudburst, deforestation, urbanizations, embankment failures, and poor planning, and the devastating effect on lives, agriculture, infrastructure, health, and economy. We also studied mitigation measures such as non-structural approaches including afforestation, forecasting, zoning, regulations, and structural solutions including reservoirs, embankments, channel improvements, diversions. The most effective strategy is integrated flood management combining engineering, ecosystem restorations, and land use planning, early warning, and community preparedness. Floods are natural, but their disaster impact is largely human-made. With climate change increasingly rainfall intensity, India must shift from reactive relief to proactive risk reductions. Your role, whether as students, teachers, officials, or citizens, is to advocate for sustainable land use, support community early warnings, and promote resilience in your area. Thank you for completing Unit 34. In Unit 35, we will study earthquakes and disaster risk reductions, and in Unit 36, landslide and disaster risk reductions. Stay informed, stay vigilant, stay resilient. Thank you.